Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm here to present to you a new test called the hydrogen methane breath test for SIBO. So, I will be starting this test from today onwards. And what is hydrogen methane breath test? Okay. So, before going to the detail of the test, I would like to take you to focus you to what is SIBO, why SIBO matters, and the normal gut flora, the normal defense mechanism of the gut, and the pathophysiology. Now, SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It is defined as the presence of excessive bacteria in the small intestine causing gastrointestinal symptoms. These include aerobes, anaerobes, and archaes that can ferment carbohydrate and produce gases. Now, why SIBO matters? Though it is common, it is underdiagnosed. You know that many patients suffer from excessive gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, but these symptoms have been labeled as either functional disorders, IBS, or stress or anxiety related symptoms. Now, it is also associated with malabsorption and nutritional deficiencies. It can directly affect the quality of life because persistent gas, abdominal distension, and anxiety related to eating or pain after a meal, all this can affect your quality of your life. It is also important in systemic and chronic diseases, and it has a strong overlap with irritable bowel syndrome. Now, so therefore, you need to look beyond IBS to find the hidden cause. Now, let us go to the normal flora of the gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestinal tract contains trillions of microorganisms, which includes bacteria, fungus, viruses, and archaeas, together called the normal gut flora. Now, coming to the colon, the pH is 5.5 to 7, nearly neutral. Very high bacterial count, 10 to the power of 11 to 10 to the power of 12. Okay, and this has been dominated mainly by the anaerobes. Now, you can see as you move from stomach to colon, the bacterial growth or the bacterial load increases. Now, this flora, this balance is important because bacteria have their own functions to do there, like digestion, fermentation, production of vitamins like vitamin K and some vitamin B. It also protects against the harmful bacteria getting colonized. It also maintains the gut pH and so on. Now, let us move to the normal gut defense mechanism. Okay, so let's start with the gastric acid. Gastric acid, you know, this is the first chemical defense barrier. It has a low pH and it kills most bacteria before they enter the small intestine. Now, coming to peristalsis. Peristalsis, it's a continuous movement. So, it propels food and fluid forward and prevent the stagnation of bacteria or the contents, bacterial accumulation. Okay. Now, migrating motor complex. Okay. This sweeps away bacteria and undigested material. So, it has got a cyclic sweeping in the fasting state. Coming to ileocecal valve. The ileocecal valve is a valve found between the colon and the small intestine. So, they can be called as the gatekeepers. Okay. So, it prevents, the main function is to prevent the flow of colonic bacteria into the small intestine. Bile and pancreatic enzymes, they create an environment unfavorable for bacteria to survive and aid digestion. Bile as such is a natural antibacterial substance and it can damage the bacterial cell membrane. Coming to the mucosal immunity, see mucosa, this is the primary antibody found in the mucosal secretion. And the secretory immunoglobulin A binds the bacteria and toxins and prevent them from adhering to the mucosa. So, all together this mechanism keeps the bacteria in the small intestine low and prevent overgrowth. Let us go to the pathophysiology. The first is the failure in the normal gut defense. So, gastric acid. If gastric acid decreases, what happens? The pH increases. This allows the bacteria to survive and move to the small intestine, where they can multiply and overgrow. Risk factors include long-term proton pump inhibitor use, aging, Helicobacter pylori infection, and gastric surgery. In case of long-term proton pump use, you know that the proton pump of the parietal cell gets blocked. So the hydrogen ions released to the lumen of the stomach is less, so less hydrochloric acid is formed, and therefore when less hydrochloric acid is formed, pH increases, bacteria can survive and move to small intestine. Coming to peristalsis, whenever poor motility can result in accumulation of bacteria, stagnation of bacteria and overgrow there. The risk factors include diabetic neuropathy, hypothyroidism, scleroderma, adhesion after surgery. You know, in diabetic neuropathy, it damages the nerves, and what happens? Controlling the intestinal contraction. So poor motility can result in stagnation of the bacteria, where overgrowth, they can multiply and overgrow. Ileocecal valve, risk factors include valve dysfunction, Crohn's disease, surgical removal, intestinal obstruction. So any failure or damage to the ileocecal valve, what does it do? It reflects the colonic bacteria into the small intestine, where they can multiply and overgrow. Coming to the mucosal immunity, the risk factors include immunodeficiency, malnutrition, chemotherapy, stress and chronic illness. Immunodeficiency, this is low immune protection, therefore bacteria can multiply and overgrow. Coming to bacterial stasis and colonization, so you know that small intestine relatively has a very low bacterial count. So during, if there is low motility, bacteria get stagnant, it can multiply and overgrow. So common bacteria grown includes E. coli, Klebsiella, Enterococcus faecalis, bacteroids, Streptococcus species and Lactobacillus. Bacterial growth and fermentation. So excess bacteria ferment carbohydrates before they have been absorbed. So what happens when bacteria ferment carbohydrate? It produces gases, okay? That is a hydrogen gas, methane gas and carbon dioxide. So there are hydrogen gas producers. Those are the E. coli, Klebsiella and Enterobacter. The methane gas producers, they are called the methanogens. They are not true bacteria. They totally differ and to a separate domain. They are called the Methanobrevibacter smithii, long name. So each gas has got a different effect on the intestinal motility. Now the effect of hydrogen gas is what happens? There is bloating, abdominal distension, flatulence, diarrhea. It speeds up the transit because hydrogen gas increases the gut motility. So there is less time for water to be absorbed, resulting in loose stool and diarrhea. Effects of methane, it slows the intestinal transit. It is also associated with constipation. So methane actually affects the smooth muscles. So there is less contraction. The contents remain in the colon for a long time. So water gets absorbed and stool becomes hard and difficult in passage, resulting in constipation. If we look at the mucosal injury and inflammation, whenever there is a bacterial overgrowth, what happens? It produces toxins, gases, acids, which will irritate the intestinal lining. Also, it can damage the brush border and causes inflammation and intestinal permeability, leaky gut, you see. So that can develop into malabsorption. So there will be malabsorption of the fat, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins and minerals, which results in steatorrhea, bloating, weight loss, deficiency of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E and K, abdominal discomfort, diarrhea, flatulence, muscle wasting and fatigue. Lastly, chronic inflammation and impaired motility. Whenever there is a chronic inflammation, this affects the nerves and the muscles of the gut, which results in the poor contraction and slow movement. So this cycle keeps repeating. Now, who should be doing hydrogen methane breath test? Okay, the patients with persistent gastrointestinal symptoms like bloating, abdominal distension, chronic diarrhea or constipation, excessive gas, unexplained abdominal pain or cramping. Patients with risk factors like motility disorders, scleroderma, hypothyroidism, structural abnormalities like small bowel diverticula, post-surgical blind lobe, adhesion, ileocecal valve dysfunction. Patients with malabsorption or nutritional deficiencies, and patients with chronic use of acid suppressing drugs, patients with systemic or associated diseases. Now, what is SIBO breath testing? It is a breath test used to detect bacterial growth in the small intestine by measuring the gases produced by bacteria after consuming a sugar solution. The gases measured include hydrogen and methane. Sometimes we can measure hydrogen sulfide also, but right now we will start with the hydrogen and methane only. So patient preparation is required, which is very mandatory. Patient should be fasting for 12 hours. Stop antibiotics for 4 weeks before. Stop laxative and pro-motility drugs 1 week before. No smoking, no physical activity 1 hour before the test. Now, final 24 hours before the test, you must eat strict low fiber, low fermentable diet. This is to starve the gut bacteria so they remain quiet in the baseline reading. Hydrogen breath test. So here, patient preparation, patient has to follow the pre-test diet, then baseline breath sample is taken. So patient blows into the breath collection bag. Here the baseline measurement is taken to see the initial reading of the gas which is present in the patient's breath. Then a substrate solution is given. Either we can give 75 grams of glucose or 10 grams of lactulose. Substrate is given. Then breath samples are taken over time, that is at 30 minutes, 60 minutes and 90 minutes. Then the the breath sample is analyzed for hydrogen and methane concentration. Now, patients can take, this is the 4 bags which contains in one pouch like this. Okay, so when the patient comes, they are asked to blow into this first bag, 0. This is the baseline. After the sugar solution, the substrate, after 30 minutes, then 60 minutes and 90 minutes. Okay, so we can give this to the patient, they can take it home and also do it, provided they pay. So now, so what is the principle of the test? Basically, when the patient takes a fermentable sugar, what happens? Okay, if there is excessive bacteria in the small intestine, it ferments and produces gases like hydrogen and methane. These gases diffuse into the blood and is taken to the lung where it is exhaled out, and these gases have been measured. Method of detection. So I told you there's 2 methods of detection, either glucose and lactulose. So glucose is rapidly absorbed in the small intestine. It is a simple sugar monosaccharide, that's why it can be absorbed. And also it is transported using the sodium glucose transportase. Okay? And so if bacteria are present in the proximal small intestine, glucose is fermented, hydrogen and methane is produced early. Now, the disadvantage of this is that since it is absorbed very quickly in the proximal small intestine, we can miss out on the ileal region if the bacteria are present, okay, because it absorbs fast. So we have decided to go with the lactulose. So lactulose is a synthetic sugar, okay, and lactulose is non-absorbable and it travels through the entire small intestine till the colon. Okay, so if bacteria are present, it ferments and produces gases which can be measured. Now, what are the type of SIBOs and the common criteria on breath testing? Hydrogen dominant SIBO, methane dominant SIBO, and there is mixed type of SIBOs. So a rise in exhaled hydrogen more than 20 ppm above the baseline within the first 90 minutes of oral ingestion of substrate is recommended to be diagnostic of a SIBO. Methane dominant SIBO, presence of methane level more than 10 ppm at any point during the test. And mixed type is both hydrogen producing bacteria and methane producing archaea are elevated in your breath test. Now let us see some cases. 29-year-old male with chronic bloating was after meal, excess gas and abdominal distension, frequent loose stool, no blood in stool, recent gastroenteritis and antibiotic exposure. What is your interpretation? Here if you look, you can see the hydrogen. I told you hydrogen gas should be more than 20 ppm. So here in the baseline it is 10. As it goes at 30 minutes, 22, 48 and 78. So you can see the hydrogen going up to 78 in 90 minutes. Why we are doing it at 90 minutes is the normal transit time of lactose lactulose in the small intestine is 90 to 120 minutes. So we are stopping it at 90 minutes so that we don't take up the colonic fermentation. Methane 3, 4, 6 and 8. So what is your interpretation? Not normal, it is a positive for hydrogen dominant SIBO. Now 45-year-old female with chronic constipation, abdominal bloating, fullness after meal, slow transit, hypothyroidism, excessive flatulence, low abdominal discomfort. Okay. Here you can see the hydrogen gas baseline 2, 4, 6, 8. Methane gas is 16, 24, 29 and 36. What is your interpretation? Yes. So methane, positive for methane SIBO, or now they have changed intestinal methanogen overgrowth, IMO, because these archaeas are found both in the colon as well as in small amount in small intestine. Now, 38-year-old male with mild intermittent bloating, no significant GI history, no recent antibiotic or surgery. Hydrogen remains normal 7 to 14. Methane remains normal 3 to 7. What is your interpretation? No evidence of SIBO or IMO. 56-year male with severe bloating, gas, alternating diarrhea and constipation. Fatigue, IBS history, long-term PPI use. Here you can see hydrogen, yes, and methane positive. What is your interpretation? This is a mixed type of SIBO. Treatment. Not going to detail about the treatment. Treatment is with the clinicians, but I'll just read it out. Antibiotic therapy. The drug of choice is rifaximin because it's a non-systemic antibiotic that stays mostly within the gut. So it is a well-tolerated choice for the hydrogen dominant SIBO. Okay. Neomycin, but I think they don't use oral. Instead, you can use metronidazole, often used in combination with rifaximin for methane dominant SIBO. And you need to have a combination therapy for mixed SIBO. Diet management and improve gut motility. You can use prokinetic medications, and you treat the underlying causes, correct the nutritional deficiencies and follow up breath testing after the treatment. Takeaway message is not all IBS is IBS. Think about SIBO in patients with persistent IBS-like symptoms. Thank you.